Well, hello there, the name is Hunter, and welcome back to the second Fear and Hunger video. Today I will be covering the side characters and the ones I haven't covered in the last video. But first I must warn you, this game contains some topics that some of you might find triggering. So if you are not feeling up to the task, I would suggest closing the video. Now, let's get started. Buckmans Guild are members of the Kingdom of Rondon that were there to investigate the dungeons of Fear and Hunger and find Captin Rudimer who went missing there. The group is made out of 4 people. These people were scattered in dungeons of Fear and Hunger, but the player helped them to find each other. Seymor is a knight of Rondon wielding a massive sword called Claymore. He took refuge in the armory after defeating an acid-spitting creature that wounded him. He waits for the rest of his companions here to regroup. As the player finds him here, he informs them about Lord Buckman and asks them to bring him back here if the player finds him. Lord Buckman, there is not much to talk about this man, being Crown Prince of Rondon and leader of the group. He was captured by Trortur and held on the first level of the dungeon. After the player finds him and brings him back to the armory, Buckmans offer to pay generously if they find the rest of his group. Player agrees to bring them back here if they found any of them while exploring the dungeon. Jeanne is one of the other knights of Rondon. She was injured by Cromwell after she got separated from the group. She was badly injured, missing her arm and later on losing a fight to Lord of the Flies. Her fate in the creature's hand. Luckily the player stumbles upon the creature dragging her body. They dispatch the creature and help her back to Buckman's group. Jeanne informs them about Sir Seril going mad and still being in the Mahabre, asking to try to save him. Sir Seril, also known as Dark Knight, after receiving an emergency message from Rudimer that was stationed in dungeons of Fear and Hunger, he went to save his brother with the Buckmans group. But his mind succumbed to madness as he delved deeper in the dungeon alongside seeing what became of his brother. The player finds Sir Seril mumbling to himself in Mahabre. As they approach him, the knight tries to attack them. But being prepared for this in advance, the player throws an elixir mine at him, bringing his sanity back, the knight departing on his own. Captin Rudimer, being the one that kept the dungeon in check, being the strongest here. He felt sorry for Garde being imprisoned here after how he was betrayed by Kingdom of Rondon, making sure to put him in the lowest parts of the dungeon so he is safe from Trortur. The madness and darkness spreading from the ancient catacombs weighed on Rudimer's mind, so he set out to destroy the darkness once and for all, not knowing how much this quest would take a toll on him. With supplies running thin, he even needed to trade the cube of the depths to the caveless to be able to survive. He pushed deeper into the darkness that he wanted to destroy just for it to swallow him whole, turning him into a crow mauler, more of a creature than a man, hunting down the tainted creatures but adventurer too. Although needing to be killed for Ragnarvalder ascending, he is later on found in the backstory of Osa in Fear and Hunger Termina, meaning his will continued to live on although twisted by the darkness. There is a god I haven't talked about as he wasn't really important to the story in the first game, but his followers are. God Reher, also known as the Trickster God, he is shrouded in mystery and not many know of him. Reher has disdain towards mortals that could ascend to godhood ever since seeing Olmer's ascension, not wanting anyone else to ascend. This is why he created 2 of his followers by dreaming them into reality, Pocketcat and Lady of the Moon. Pocketcat aids Reher by stopping mortals from ascending by kidnapping and eventually eating the children that could ascend to godhood. He is spoken about in old fairy tale books to warn children from wandering alone. This aligns with his purpose. Pocketcat can be found trading strong items in the mines but not wanting silver or gold but instead wanting children for his wares. This would hinder the ascension of the girl that could become the god of fear and hunger later. Lady of Moon mostly serves to observe humanity, also disagreeing with humans to achieve godhood. Even though she's hostile, she's willing to help travelers for a price. If the party members are missing any body parts or are injured, Lady of Moon can heal them to their original state, but needing to give the girl to her as a payment for her help, once again stopping the ascension from happening. I talked about the non-playable recruitable party members in the last video briefly while covering the endings. To actually explain them, they need their own segments about them. Now let's continue on with the story about these 4. Garde is the leader of the mercenary army called the Knights of the Midnight Sun. He is a charming man that can back up his word with his actions. Garde conceived a child with the new god Nilvian in his dreams. This child is the one that we can find in the dungeon locked up in a cage simply called the girl. The Garde doesn't have a specific soul type like the rest of the characters, but the best speculation is his soul grows with his actions. In the traits of the Endless Soul by him trying to unite the kingdom without violence. In the traits of the Enlightenment Soul by his pursuit of knowledge of ascension. In the traits of the Dominating Soul by his excursion for the Cube of the Depths and the many dead left behind because of this. In the traits of Tormented Soul by being tortured in the dungeon. The girl, as I said before, she's the offspring of Legard and Nilvian. Nilvian chose to do this to bring new age on the world, wanting a new god to ascend to power. Nilvian cares for the girl, as she gives up her soul if the player agrees to take her to the god of the depths. The girl is rather weak, not having any powers, being reliant on the protagonist to keep her safe. But she also shows kindness, risking her life when she sees the protagonist injured, shielding them with her own body. The girl develops a deep connection with the protagonist, being happy to have their company. She also likes the company of Moonless, being dependent on her for protection, so she stays close to her, and Moonless seems to care for her as much as she can, having a motherly instinct to her. Moonless is a kind-hearted wolf, even though she was changed by the darkness, being a loyal companion to those who are kind to her. The wolf used to be alpha of the pack, but later was driven away from the pack. She is rather tough, her jagged teeth leave deep wounds that are prone to give off profuse bleeding, making sure that anyone who challenges her doesn't get off easy. Moonless is caring for the girl, as shown when the player sits on the throne of Ascension and is transported into the void where everyone is separated. Moonless protects her there, waiting for the player to find them. As stated in the first video, she can be found in the sequel Fear and Hunger Termina. Nashra used to be a sultan in the Kingdom of Edom. He ruled his land with an iron fist. Nashra also is responsible for creation of the Yellow Mages. They have a great control of channeling the otherworldly powers. Although the Yellow Mages these days have grown thin, they still follow his teachings. During the events of Fear and Hunger, Nashra's physical form has been reduced to a floating head, but still having strong magic on his side. When the player makes a clone body for him, he burns it to ash, saying it's too weak for him. Nashra probably got defeated by Grogorov, as stated in the previous video, and is carried by Osa in the events of Fear and Hunger Termina. I wasn't sure how to categorize these three, but still wanted to talk about them as they have an effect on the story but aren't tied together by any specific means. But here are their story anyways. Isayah, a self-proclaimed veteran of the dungeons, initially ignores the protagonist but ends up selling them the maps as he says he's supposedly done with his business in the dungeon. He seems to be affected by the plague, as we can see the sickening right hand and the metamask probably covering his disfigured face. Trortur in his past was a famed knight of Rondon and also a holy warrior of the Vatican. He was captured during one of the kingdom's holy crusades. Most thought he was dead, but only to be found 5 years later, his body changed by the years of torture, making him into a disfigured man. He became obsessed with torturing people, disfeeding his sick fantasy. He also built a penance armor. This armor being like an Iron Maiden. Once on, it cannot be taken off. The spikes digging into your body with every step but protecting you from any outside damage. It was made for those who were given death sentences, but this way they could be forgiven of their sins by Olmer. Nosramus never became a new god, even though he was part of the group that went to Mahabre. This gave him the title of Forgotten One. He instead was on the path of true enlightenment. He created a spell to become biologically immortal, living for hundreds of years. He shared his vast knowledge with Enki, as I stated in the previous video. This helped Enki to reach true enlightenment too. You arrive at the end of the video. I hope this feeds your curiosity about the more obscure characters. I was thinking of maybe making more of a funny video next time along the lines of the Fear and Hunger experience. I would appreciate if you would like and subscribe. Also thank you for watching the video till the end, viewer. Also thank you guys that support me whenever I make these videos. But this would be it. Hunter signing off.